Hi everyone, Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. So today we're going to look at the new moon in Leo. It's a pretty powerful new moon, and I want to look at the new moon itself, and then look at a few charts and how it's affecting certain people's charts and perhaps certain country charts. So we'll take a look at that. We'll look at the astrology. We'll look at a little bit at the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life and how it sits upon the Tree of Life. So before we get started, I just want to send a few thank yous out there. Of course, thanking Robin for this beautiful necklace. I know I thanked you before, but I've had a lot of comments on it. And so I thought what I would do is just sort of show it to you. Off my neck, if I can get it off my neck. It's really just lovely. And I don't know if Robin does this, as a hobby or if she actually does jewelry. But if she does, and you're interested, Robin, you can, say who you are. And so this is the necklace. Oops, sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's got this beautiful clasp. It's just so artfully done. It's just lovely. And of course, it's all my colors, the blues and the greens, and just lovely. And then I also want to thank somebody else who sent me something. Mary Ann. Well, hold on, let me make sure I get this right. Yes, Mary Ann from San Francisco area. Thank you for the card. Thank you for the donation. I just want to show everybody this. This is Maitreya's hand. And it holds within it a lot of healing power. And as soon as I opened the card, it's on the card, and then she gave me a little card that you can put in your purse. And the healing power of Lord Maitreya, who's a world teacher and a ascended master. So I just thought I would share that with you, and you can feel the energy. Feel the energy. Okay, so we will be right back with the astrology. Okay, guys, let's talk about this new moon that's occurring today at 27 degrees of Leo. I thought this is an apropos picture. Here we have a beautiful lioness. Behind her we have, looks like gold, some fire agate perhaps. She's surrounded by a gold ring and surrounded by sunflowers. And so those are some of the symbols of Leo. And so we can sort of get the energy of Leo. There's a regality about Leo. There's a richness. There's a sense of sort of being on the top of the world. But it's a place, being on top of the world, that you get to through courage and skill and ferocity and a loving heart. Remembering, we can see this lioness sort of bathing in the sunlight, using the sun as a source of energy and light, just as the sunflowers do. And of course, sunflowers are very nutritious, right? So sunflower seeds, when you share it with the birds or you eat them yourselves, they're very nutritious. So they have the energy, that vital energy. And the new moon in Leo brings that vital energy forward. Now, if we look at the actual chart for the new moon in Leo, this is actually a chart that was erected for Washington, D.C. Now, you can do this for any of your, wherever you live. If you want to do it for the country that you're in, you do it to the capital of that country. If you want to do it for where you are, you do it for where you live. I did this for the United States because we're going to be looking at this chart and how it affects some major players that have come up in the United States. So my apologies for places other than the United States. This is about the new moon that's occurring on the 18th here in the States. Here in America, on the Capitol, like at the in Washington D.C., which is the capital, and it is occurring on the 18th. There are some places where this is occurring on the 19th. I'm going to be doing the numerology as well, and so the numerology actually changes for those areas, and you can apply that to your area as well. But I had to pick one spot, so I picked the United States, and I picked Washington. So let's look at this. We have the new moon down here. It's at 2635 of Leo. It is conjunct Mercury. We just had, yesterday, we just had Mercury and the Sun make their superior conjunction in Leo. And there is a very tight inconjunct to Saturn here. You can see Saturn. We can see the inconjunct right here. That's what an inconjunct looks like. We also have this particular new moon making a trine to the south node of the moon, and also a trine to Mars in Aries. Now Mars is in Aries. Mars is starting to slow down because it will be going retrograde at like the second week of September. So it's gradually starting to slow down. So as Mars sort of slows down, it slows down. It builds power. So there's a lot of power here. So we have a grand trine here. Now grand trines in themselves don't necessarily mean that something's going to happen. It means that there's a lot of energy for something to happen, a lot of creativity, a lot of creative self-expression, a lot of ego, okay? But we do have the north node here creating what we call a kite formation. And when you have a grand trine in your chart, if you have another planet or another placement that creates a kite formation, you actually get to utilize the energy of that grand trine. And as an example, Kamala Harris has, I believe, two kites, or perhaps 3 kites in her chart. She actually has a 6-pointed star in her chart, and that's made up of, I believe, 3 kites. Is it 3 or 4? 3 kites. So she is somebody who, there's a lot of energy that she can actually express out into the world for the benefit of the world, really, or benefit of her life, right? Okay, so we have this. So probably the most interesting, or perhaps the most difficult part of this new moon will be the relationship between the new moon and Saturn. Now, last new moon we had it in Cancer, and it was actually exactly opposite Saturn. So what's happening in these new moons is that the last new moon in Cancer was opposite Saturn. This new moon in Leo is in conjunct Saturn. And then next month's new moon in September in Virgo is trine Saturn. So there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made between this new moon in Leo and the next new moon in Virgo, because when we get to that new moon in Virgo, we have the capacity to actually put energy in and really change things, really start to fix what's broken. But we're in this power struggle. Whenever you're dealing with Capricorn and Leo, which is the 2 major energies, because we have the Leo new moon conjunct Mercury, and then we have the 3 or 4 placements in Capricorn that in conjunct this. Saturn being the major in conjunct. Pluto and Jupiter are a little bit too wide to actually to in conjunct this, but their influence is felt. It's still there because it's Saturn, and Saturn's got Pluto, and Saturn's got Jupiter behind it. Saturn also has Pallas Athena there. So he's, you know, there's a lot of energy of, there's a lot of energy with all that Capricorn of do or die. It's like this, you're going to have to do this. Or it's not going to work. Now, I don't necessarily mean do or die. We have to do it or we're going to die. I mean, like, this is when, I guess, the rubber meets the road and we have to start making adjustments. And the adjustments that you make with this type of inconjunct, there's a Scorpio side inconjunct. There are adjustments that where the outside, where society pushes up against the person putting the ideas out there, expressing themselves, okay? And you can be rejected by society if you can't find a way to say what you need to say, express what you need to express in a way that is considerate of society, considerate of other people's needs and wants. The North Node, here we have this North Node in Gemini. The best way to activate this grand fire trine, right, is through communication, And it is about, the South Node in Sagittarius does require us to let go of some beliefs that we might have. Perhaps you have a belief that there's no way on God's green earth that I'm ever going to be able to talk to a Trump, say it's my case, say it's me. I could never talk to somebody who voted for Trump or who at this point still continues to like him and wants to vote for him. And so that's a hard thing to swallow. But if I want my perspective to get out there, I can't necessarily cut all these people off who just don't agree with me. So the way forward is to move in the direction of Gemini, which is curiosity. So I'll give you an example. The other day, I had a reading with a person, and I brought Trump up, and I don't bring him up a lot in readings, but I think I used him as an example. And she said, "Oh, but I like Trump." And I was like, I was taken aback because, quite frankly, most people who seek me out don't particularly like Trump. But I thought, well, so I stepped back from it and I just asked her a couple of questions. And I said, well, what is it about him that you like? And she told me that that he was good for the economy and this, that, and the other thing. And then I asked her just a few more questions. I said, well, do you watch like Fox News? Because I kind of I was curious. I wanted to know how she could see what was going on and still want to vote for him. And she said, well, I know I don't really watch cable news. I listen to Harry Carr, which is, I don't listen to him, but I think he's like a conservative radio guy. And so I realized that in her perspective, with the information that she had at her disposal, she made her decision. She says, I don't really pay attention to that other stuff. Well, the other stuff, I think, was the news. Like she wasn't really paying attention to the news. And, in her defense, the news is very skewed, right? So if she was watching Fox, I'd say, oh, well, she watches. So I have another friend who says things that are very sort of out of character with how she kind of lives her life. So she lives one way and she thinks another. It's kind of odd. But, I realize, I know she watches Fox, right? So I know that there's like a perspective there, and that's where she's getting her information. So the point of what I'm saying is that we have to, and it was, and I'll tell you, it took everything I had not to say Well, are you satisfied with the way he's dealing with the pandemic? Are you satisfied with the fact that he's put children in prison, in cages, and all the things, all the things that you go like, what? But I didn't go there. I didn't go there. I just wanted to start. I just wanted to understand where she was coming from without judgment. I was just surprised. So I think that my experience with this client was a good teaching experience for me, and perhaps a good teaching experience for us. Now, I'm not saying go out and make buddy friends with all the Trumpsters that you know, and that's not what I'm saying. But if it pays for us to understand one another. It pays for us to talk to one another when we have the opportunity. I'm not necessarily saying seek it out, jump into a conversation on Facebook about Trump with pro-Trumpers. You're not going to get anywhere, because you can't, if people are not being reasonable, then there's no point. There's really no point. But if people are open, or if you come from an open place, you might get some information and better understand it. And ultimately, we're going to have to come together at some point and live together again and coexist again. And this place that we're at is very raw and very painful. And it's raw and painful for everybody. So, all right, so off to the next thing. All right, so let's see what else I have here. I don't even remember what I have. Let's look at the Sabian symbol for 27 degrees of Leo. I just love this. And the new moon is when the sun and the moon are together, right? The luminescence of dawn in the eastern sky. The keynote here is the exalting challenge of new opportunities at the threshold of a new cycle. You feel it, I feel it, we all feel it. We're at the threshold of something big. While the rainbow marks the end of the crisis, early dawn indicates a real beginning of the new period of activity. In the Bible symbolism, Noah plants his vineyard. He begins to teach the secret doctrine from which he inherited from them of Ben Elohim, sons of God, who had not been sucked down into the whirlpools of materiality. After the peak experience in which we touch our divine potentialities, where we touch our divine potentialities, comes the struggle with everyday problems. But at first, the state of deep inner exaltation remains within us. We are aglow with its promise. The crisis and the blessing it has brought to us are relatively unusual events. Every day has its dawn, which we should meet with a pure heart and a clear mind. Alpha, dawn, and omega, the concluding peak experiences, are opposites, yet they are the same. The key word here is illumination. So as a keyword, illumination, we know that this new moon will be illuminating something. Okay. So if we do the numerology of this new moon as it falls over Washington, D.C., we'll see that it occurred on the 18th of August. If we add those vibrations together, we get the 8 and the 18 and the 4 as the number, the universal year number. We get a 30 over 3, okay? This is the card associated with that vibration, 30 over 3. It is located in Hesed on the Tree of Life. It is the Sephiroth of Mercy. It is the Sephiroth of Jupiter. And it is energetically located in the throat chakra. And incidentally, this vibration in Kabbalah is associated with the sign of Leo. It's actually the first decan of Leo. And so if we look at the 4 of Wands, we see we have a celebration, a wedding. There's a huppah, I think that's how you say it, huppah, with these wreaths from sort of like heavy with fruit. So there is a sense of, and it also, to a certain extent, creates a gateway. You see that? We have a gateway, and we just moved through the Lion's Gate, right? And the Lion's Gate, while there's specific dates where it's said to be open, it's really still there energetically, and we still have the capacity to sort of move forward and move through it. And if, many of you probably watch Amanda Ellis, who's one of my favorite people to watch. She did a meditation on the Lion's Gate, and within the meditation, she said, as we approach the Lion's Gate, we have to empty our pockets, right? So it's really about letting go of all these sort of preconceived ideas, beliefs, all of it, our pain, our you know, the things that we hold on to, that we identify with. We identify with our pain. Now all that has to go if we are to move into this new fifth dimensional space. And when my client brought up that she liked the president, I had to empty my pockets. So there's going to be a lot of pocket emptying. And some of that pocket emptying, I think, is going to be, I don't want to say at the barrel of a gun, because that sounds too too aggressive. But Saturn is the Lord of karma. And inconjuncts are interesting because you feel their energy, but you can't necessarily see it. It's like oppositions are like this. You have one here and one here. But inconjuncts, the planet inconjuncting the new moon is off the screen. So you can't see it, but you know it's there. You feel it. And with Saturn, you always feel it because you pay. Saturn makes you pay, right? So while we're emptying our pockets or not, we're going to have Saturn sort of watching us and saying, empty those pockets, empty those pockets. The inconjunct between the new moon and Saturn is a Scorpio side inconjunct. And so we need to let go of emotions. These are making emotional adjustments, and emotional adjustments are very difficult because you can't just stop feeling something. It's almost like you have to feel it to the nth degree before you're willing to let it go. It's like if you're filling up a pitcher of water, the water, say you're filling up a pitcher of water on a table and you want to wash the table with water. If you're putting the water in the pitcher, you have to wait for the pitcher to be full before the water spills out on the sides, gets enough water on the table so that you can clean it. Now, normally you'd say, oh, I'll just put water on the table and clean it. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the process of reaching and then spilling over. And that spilling over gives us an opportunity to move on to a new desire or a new experience. And so we have to let go emotionally. And so there's going to be a lot of emotional releases during this lunation cycle. Okay. So this is about Hesed. And I just want to say a couple of things about Hesed. So Hesed is a place of benevolence, kindness, mercy, and sincerity. So where it sits on the tree of life is actually quite lovely, associated with the planet Jupiter, also known as the greater benefic. Anything Jupiter touches, it expands. Okay? So know that if you do good things, they will expand. And if you do crappy things, they will expand to more crap. So be aware. Hesed is the gateway to visible form. In the tree of life, it's the first time where we start to see the formation of things. It is energetically connected to the throat chakra, which is also called Vishuddha or purification. And here we have the throat chakra. So this is really about coming into a saying what you need to say, expressing what needs to be said, but saying it in such a way that you're aware of that Saturn, that it's not just about blurting things out, okay, but it's about being strategic when it comes to the things that you say, and stepping back and holding back and then moving forward. It's very sort of step by step, making adjustments, and you'll know as you make these adjustments to what you have to share, okay? As you make these adjustments as to what you have to share, you'll know if you're going right or wrong by whether things continue to feel open or if things shut down, okay? All right, so the next thing I want to do is I would like to go over a few charts with you. So I'm going to just change what we're looking at here. Okay, guys, so here we have the chart again for the new moon. It's a little bigger to look at. And we have the new moon at 27 degrees of Leo. It's in the 5th house, in the house, in the chart erected for Washington, D.C. It is conjunct Mercury in Leo. The 5th house is that Leo house, so we're dealing with the new self-expression in the house of expression, next to Mercury, which is the planet of expression, and the ruler of the North Node in the chart, okay? And that is actually sextile, so that's very helpful, okay? Now we have, let's just go over this again. We have the new moon conjunct Mercury in a trine to the South Node in Sag, and a trine to Mars in Aries back down to the new moon. And then we have the North Node as the creator of the kite formation here, so that we can express the energy of this very potent grand trine through the North Node. And the North Node in this chart is in the 3rd house. This is your local, this is like your local neighborhood. It's interesting that the presidential, the Democratic convention is actually, while located in Milwaukee, the actual president and the vice president are going to be in Delaware. So it's really like a hometown. It's like really, I mean, it's hometown to the nth degree, right? My mother lives in Delaware, in Wilmington, so she's at the locus of this, which is pretty funny. Anyway, so we do have this. So this is the configuration. So this is the Sibly chart, the Sibly chart for the United States of America. Just so you can look at it, you know, there are a couple of charts that people use. This is one of them. I like the Sibly chart, but there is also a Gemini ascendant chart, same day, different time. There is a Scorpio ascendant chart, and then some people use the chart of the Constitution, because that's actually when the country sort of came together. We built the body of the country, and of course that was after the Revolutionary War when France saved our butts. So this is, so what I want to show you now is how this chart sits on the chart of the United States. So where is the new moon? Well, here we have the new moon up here in the 9th house. The 9th house is the house of justice. It's the house of the Supreme Court. It is the house of higher education. It's also foreign places. So it's domestic, our relationship to other countries. And so we can see that there is a new beginning in this, okay? There's a new beginning in this. We can see that Saturn and Pluto, Jupiter and Vesta, all in Capricorn, are down here. We have Saturn actually very close to the Pluto in the U.S. chart. That was actually exact, I believe, last week. Saturn was making its second pass over the nation's Pluto, and it will make a third pass. I think it's in, I want to say November. Oh, November, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Of course it's going to be November. Going over Pluto. But the point I want to make here is that we can see that not only is this new moon in conjunct Saturn as they both are in the sky right now, but it's also in conjunct Pluto. And this Pluto in Capricorn is really the power and the shadow of America. And this new moon will illuminate that shadow. And this new moon will require us to deal with it and yet stay open so that we can come to a place of resolution and healing for this. The next new moon that's going to be occurring is at about, let me see, I do have it here, so let me take a look and tell you what degree it is. Is at 26 degrees of Virgo. So this is a month from now. And that moon will actually, Virgo is right here. So it will remain in the 9th house, okay? But it's conjunct Neptune, and it will be trine these planets. So that promotes a little more ease and a little bit more comfort. But now we are really holding the people in charge's feet to the fire. That's really what's happening. And let's look at that, because here we have Donald Trump's chart. Now, this is Donald Trump's chart. This is the new moon. We can see that he is undergoing very strenuous aspects to his Saturn and his Venus, from Saturn, from Pluto, not so much from Jupiter now, but it will come over. This is, he just actually lost his brother. He just lost his brother, which can sometimes be that Pluto energy, especially in opposition. Pluto opposition any of your planets is coming up against forces that you have no control over. And of course, death being the primary force. You know, when our time is up, our time is up. That's it. Can't do nothing about it. I mean, sometimes you can make it go, you know, but sometimes it's just what it is. Okay. So what's going to happen? Well, one of the things is that this new moon is actually on his Mars. He has Mars in Leo in his 12th house. Having Mars in the 12th house, there's a lot of like underhanded, not, you know, the actions that you take are kind of clandestine. There's not a lot of things that you see, a lot of stuff. It's very much like indicative of like the dark stuff, right? The dark, like stuff that you don't want anybody to see, you know? So he gets a lot of power from that. But this is a new moon of illumination. Remember the Sabian symbol for this new moon was illumination. So I feel like what this new moon is going to do is it's going to illuminate his actions, and it's going to be talked about. And I think what we're seeing here is Michael Cohen's book. I think we're seeing that there. So we'll hear about that. So we can see that the president of the United States is getting activated. Venus is on his Mercury. This is actually, this is good for him, actually, Venus on his Mercury. I think he has Mars from the 8th house trining his Mars. So he's getting help, but he's getting help from the people who do the it's like all the money stuff, all the shared resource stuff, insurance companies, dark money, all of that stuff is coming in for him. So he's not without his help. There's something else in his chart that I wanted to point out. Okay, so maybe it wasn't in this chart. So the next chart I want to look at is Kamala Harris, because she is the woman of the day right now. We're in the middle of the Democratic convention. She's going to be officially sort of, I guess, crowned the vice president nomination. I don't know if that's exactly what we want to say, but she's a beautiful woman. She'd look great with a crown on her head, I have to say. So this is Kamala right here. This is her chart. And remember I said she has some grand trines here. They're a little harder to see because some of them are kind of, there's one right here. But she does have, she has a lot of sextiles. If you're interested in her chart, check out my video on her astrology, because it's pretty interesting. And I'm going to also do a more in-depth view of her astrology and Biden's astrology together. And some of that we're going to look at right now. But so this is Kamala's chart. And if we look at it from the perspective of where is this new moon falling for her, this new moon is falling in her third house, okay? And it is conjunct widely, but conjunct all the same, her Mars in Leo. She also has a Mars in Leo, as does the president. So we know that she's going to be using her prodigious speaking ability. She has an ability to use words as a weapon. She's very wise about it. And if you've ever watched her have somebody on the stand like Barr or Kavanaugh, or anybody for that matter, I think even Sessions, it's a real treat. It's a real treat. It's the thing that made me like really go, ooh, who's this woman? You know, it was just her. She's so smart. She's just so smart. All right, so that's Kamala. Now let's look at Uncle Joe, right? Grandpa Joe or Sleepy Joe, whatever he's called. This is Joe Biden's chart, okay? And what's going on with Joe Biden as far as this new moon is that this new moon is actually, and Mercury is actually conjunct his Chiron, his wound. Now, Chiron in Leo can be any number of things. It can be a wound around your ability to speak. It can be a wound around your heart and those people that you've loved or loved and lost. It could be wounds around generosity, lack thereof, or maybe too much generosity. There's all kinds of like archetypical things that we could say, but ultimately Chiron is the thing that drives us to heal. And he is somebody who has had many a challenging experience in his life around loss. And I've said this before that I never really felt the energy for Biden, but since we've had COVID, I can see the wisdom in a Biden. And while I don't think that the corporate Democrats, that's what they were thinking, they just wanted to go with what they knew and what they figured they had more influence over, right? As opposed to somebody like Bernie Sanders or somebody like Liz Warren. But I think what has happened is that he has become this bridge for us as Americans to move through the grief process. and the grief of losing the life that we've always known to have, or at least at this time, and moving into a new life, into a new way of being, much more humble. And we can see that he has his North Node in this humbling sign of a Virgo. So this for him is an opportunity to share what it is that he has learned through his experiences around loss. This particular new moon actually squares both his sun and his Venus, and to a certain extent, widely, his Mercury. And in Scorpio, this is really about loss, and I think that he can utilize this new moon to expand the healing that is necessary, by being an example of the healing process that he had to go through to help the United States go through their healing process. Now, one other thing I want to show you, this is the composite chart for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And this in itself is like, we could sit here for an hour and talk about this. But what I want to show you is their ascendant is Pisces. Pisces is healing. Their MC together is Sagittarius. This is vision. This is vision. Their sun together is Scorpio. So this is about transformation. This is about change and transformation. And they have Pluto at 2620 of Leo in the 6th house of service. Okay. So keep your eye on this, because if we look at the new moon, we can see that the new moon sits on their composite Pluto. Sits on their composite Pluto. So this is a very powerful combination, these two people together. And with the illumination of the new moon there, this is an opportunity for their composite soul, the work that they're here to do together, soul-wise, moves forward. And I am going to do a thing on them with the Kabbalah included, because you can take the Kabbalah and you can also utilize it for looking at two people in their relationships. And it's going to be very interesting to go through that, but that is going to be maybe in a couple of days. That takes time. So, and then one other thing I want to show you guys, and that is now this, I know this is a lot to look at, but what it is it is a tri-wheel. This is Donald Trump, and we can see he has his Mars in Leo. And if we look here, this is the composite Pluto of Kamala and Joe. And then we have the new moon sitting right on top of it. Okay, right there. So this is going to be a time of, I believe, illuminating the past for the President of the United States, and really seeing him for who he is and what he has done. Now, that may not, that sounds very like, oh, he's going to jail or whatever. I don't know. I mean, that I don't know. I wouldn't say, but I would say there's a lot of energy for things to be uncovered around him. And then we'll have to see what that means, because there's a lot of moving pieces in this puzzle. But it could also be people's ability to see him as not necessarily a negative influence, but as an opportunity for the old to fall away so that the new can be born. And it would be nice if we could do that in a sort of more positive frame of reference. But humans have yet to come to that point, right? So it has to, it's almost as if it has to hurt for us to take notice. So we are in for a very interesting month. And I'll be with you for the most part, I think, throughout this whole process, trying to figure out what the heck's going on and hopefully giving you guys some perspective. But this has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe if you would like a reading with me. I do that. And I do have openings, so contact me. There are links below. And if you feel jiggy and you want to donate to my channel, that's always appreciated. So thank you again. Thank you for my gifts. Thank you for watching. It means a lot that I hope this helps, and it means a lot if it helps somebody. All right, guys, take care. Namaste. Or namaste. Is that how he said it? Anyway, namaste.